Welcome to the channel. If you're a fan of horror stories, you've come to the right place. On this channel, you'll find stories that are true, some are fictional, but as long as they send a chill down your spine and make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, if you like that sort of thing. A fair warning though, some stories contain graphic, violent or sexual content, so viewer discretion is advised. So without any further ado, let's get into it. The Last Hunt of the Reaper. Written by Redditor Scare in a Box. They walked in without a care in the world. I acted relaxed, hiding my eagerness, forcing my face to appear bored. The bell above the door rang as it closed, and a group of 4 teenagers entered, 3 girls, 1 boy. The group spoke in hushed tones while they walked about my store, studying cryptic items that reeked of the occult. Though people were often attracted to forces they were unable to grasp, those who did go ahead with the ritualistic requirements of my items were few. My store was perfect to attract those few, however. One of the girls approached the desk to talk to me. "Excuse me?" I feigned interest. "Yes, young maiden? How may I be of assistance? Do you know anything about Ouija boards? I know all there is to know about them. Youngsters like you tend to poke fun at such objects." The girl's friends accordingly snickered at the back of the store. Yet those who play with it rarely repeat the experience. And there are those, of course, who aren't lucky enough to be able to repeat it. The girl mulled this over. "Why do you sell it at your store then?" I smiled. If I told her the truth, she would think me a joker and not go through with the ritual. So I lied. These are items that directly connect us to places better left alone. If one were to destroy said items, one would find oneself in the darkest tangles of destiny. By their very nature, these objects must exist to keep the balance of the worlds. Oh, how they ate it up, and with such earnest expressions. The girl who was talking to me was especially entranced. It can be healthy to experiment with items such as Ouija boards. If nothing else, they can humble those who jeer at things much more powerful than they are. I eye the girl's friends. "So you're saying you'd rather curse other people than be cursed yourself for the greater good?" the girl asked. I nodded. "You catch on quick." The girl handed me the Ouija box and I passed it on the scanner. "What are you planning to do with this? Contact someone dear?" The girl shrugged. "A boy from our school was killed in an abandoned warehouse north of the town. We want to see if his spirit still lingers." "Spooky stuff." The girl laughed. "Very spooky stuff." "Hey pal," the boyfriend of hers said in an overly aggressive tone. "Yes, pal," I replied. Boys like this were always the first to crumble at the sight of a threat. Their wills were weak, their minds feeble, susceptible to the tiniest divergence from their authority. Most humans were, but some more than others. "That board ain't cursed now, is it?" I spun the board in my hands. I undid the small strip of tape and opened the box, showing it to them. "This, my youngsters, is but cardboard and wood and a little bit of glass. This ain't cursed, but you are doing the cursing. If I had to give you one piece of advice, I'd tell you to leave this board and everything that has something to do with it alone." "What now? Are you going to sell us herbs to cast away evils?" And the boy laughed. I pointed at patches of herbs on the back of the store. "I could. Do you want some? I do advise you to take them." "Just buy the Ouija board, Mary," the boy said, half laughing and walking out of the store. I decided then that that one would be the first to go. The girl, Mary, smiled at me politely and said, "I'm sorry for them." "I'm sorry for them as well," I shrugged it off. Mary paid and I handed her the box, wishing her the rest of a good day. Just as she reached the door, I called back. "Miss?" "Yes?" she said. "Here, I've got something you might want to take." "Oh, I'm all out of money." "That's all right. It's a special offer. I like to treat my polite customers well." And I smiled. I've got to be careful with my smiles. I have turned people away through its supposed wrongness. Mary felt none of it, however, and returned to my desk. The girl was so honest, so naive. I had to hold myself from sprawling laughter. I pretended to search the shelves behind me, held out my hand, and materialized the necklace, the amulet, my blessed gift. I showed it to the girl. The amulet was a simple cord with a small metal raven attached to it. It looked Masonic and rural, a perfect concoction. "This," I said, "is called the Blessed Raven. This is an ancient amulet worn by Celtic priests when they battled evil spirits. The amulet by itself is made of simple materials, and I had a bunch of them blessed in Tibet. They should protect you shall anything bad happen." "Anything bad?" I shrugged again. "Spirits are temperamental. The realm beyond is tricky, so it's good to be prepared." She held out her hand. "Do you accept the amulet?" "Sure." I closed my hand around it. "Do you accept it?" "Yes, Jesus, I accept it." I felt the bond forming, and I smiled again. This time, the girl recoiled, even if unconsciously. "Thank you." She exited the store in a rush. Falling back on my seat, I let out a sigh of relief and chuckled. Once again, they'd fallen for the blessed gift like raindrops in a storm. I've achieved a lot over the years. I was proud of my kills, proud of my hunts. For today, or very near today, I would celebrate with a feast. They'd never see the demon before I was at their throats. Demons do not appear out of nowhere, nor is our existence something lawless that ignores the rules of the natural world. Our existence is very much premeditated, necessary even if we are few and our work is not substantial enough to change the tides of history. Rumors of us keep humanity in line. We do not eat humans, some of us do, but not because we need it for nourishment. We hunt, and it is the killing that sustains us. Our bodies turn the act into energy, sweet, sweet energy and merriment. Our means of hunting and preparing the prey also vary. Each of us has very constricting contracts which won't let us do as we please. For us to be hunters, we need to be strong and fast and above all, intelligent. These are traits not easily given. They must be earned, negotiated. They must be exchanged. I, Aegeramon, operate in a very quaint manner. I am bestowed with a capable body, though I cannot hunt my every prey. For each group I go after, one member must survive. Hence the amulet, the blessed gift, a gift for the human who survives, and a cursed nuisance for me. I must offer the amulet to a human, and the human must accept it and wear it. This chosen one will be completely and utterly physically immune to me from the moment he puts on the amulet to the moment death comes knocking. This may cause hiccups during a hunt. If I hunt in a populated area, the amulet human might escape and get help, and I will be powerless to stop them. Imprisoning them is considered an attack, and as such, I cannot stop them from leaving. For my own survival, my hunts must take place where no help can be reached. Most importantly, the amulet human is to be my weakness. A single touch from them would burn my skin. A punch would break my bones. A single wound could become fatal. I am a monster to humanity, but these few humans are monsters to me. Nonetheless, they pose me no danger. I am careful in selecting them. They must be the weak links of the group, the naive souls, those who will either be too afraid to face me or those too sick to get me. I felt them, felt the blessed gift getting away. I could sense its direction, its speed, the heartbeat of the girl who wore it. I know when she took the amulet off to inspect it, then put it back on. I know what she thought as she thought it. And I know she felt uncomfortable all the time, as if something was watching her. It was. I was. Even after this hunt was over, even after she threw the amulet off, there would be a burn mark shaped like a raven on her chest. I would never be able to touch her or hurt her. And I wouldn't need to. I would disappear, only returning when it was time to plan my next hunt, years hence. I wish I could still feel those who were saved by the blessed gift. Did they hate me? Fear me? Somehow, had they ended up revering me as a force of nature? There was one I'd like to meet again. I'll never forget those eyes. She'd been a little girl, and if still alive, she'd be but a withered crone now. Her health had been lamentable then, so I doubted she'd lived this long. So I sat, and while waiting for Mary and her friends to take the Ouija board to the abandoned warehouse, I thought back to my glorious hunts and to my disgraceful hunts, to that horrible, wretched hunt. That day my body had been masked as a friendly bohemian of a lean but frail build. I decided that campers on the remotest sides of the mountain would be more willing to pick a hitchhiker up if he looked as non-threatening as possible. Thus I made my body into a thin bohemian. I could always bulk it up later. The first travelers that picked me up were a pleasant couple with a child. As a rule, I never went after couples. First, because hunting a single person was unsatisfactory, and second, because the amulet member of the couple would be greatly inclined to hunt me down in vengeance. Though that wasn't a worry I normally had. With so many campers going around, I was sure to find another group. I caught 2 more rides until I found the perfect people. I ended up coming across a batch of young adults and teenagers having a picnic below a viewpoint, and 2 of the youngest were in wheelchairs. The girl on the wheelchair had a visible handicap on her left leg, while the boy was pale and sickly. It looked like their older brothers had brought them along with their friends, though they hadn't done so out of obligation. They all looked happy and cordial, but there was a hint of discord in the undertones of some strings of conversation. I smiled oh so delightfully. "I am sorry to disturb you, my guys, but do any of you have any water?" I could see that the older ones eyed me warily. Was I a vagrant? Was I dangerous? I held up an empty bottle. I ran out a couple of miles ago, and the last time I drank from a river, I ended up having the shits for a week. This got a laugh from them all, and the older ones eased up a little. "I have a bottle here," the girl in the wheelchair said, grabbing one from her backpack and handing it to me. "Thank you so very much, miss. What's your name, darling?" "Marilyn," she said, and just like that, I was in for the hunt. Through comical small talk, I was able to make the group accept me for the night. I had canned food in my backpack, which I shared. I had cannabis and rolling paper, which made everyone's eyes light up. Hadn't I been who I was, these youngsters would have remembered this night for the rest of their lives. Only Marilyn and the boy in the wheelchair eyed me wearily. "You okay?" I asked. She looked away. I had to earn her good graces. She was weak, and her health seemed frail. She'd be a good fit to wear the blessed gift. "You don't seem okay." "My lungs," she said. "They're not great. Asthma." I nodded as if I perfectly understood the ailment, as if it had brought me to a dear one's suffering as well. "You know, when I was—" "Hey, Marilyn," one teenager said. He was tall and buff and looked much like Marilyn. "Leave the man alone." Marilyn's eyes turned back to her feet. "That's all right, man," I said. "She's cool." The boy looked at me as if I was some alien who had no conception of human culture. "Cool, you say?" He wore a jeering grin. "Sure thing." After engaging in an uninteresting conversation with Marilyn, who appeared to be greatly immersed in what she was saying, I got up to go to the bathroom because the time seemed appropriate, sociologically speaking. I don't use the bathroom. I used the opportunity to spy on the group from afar, to observe their interactions. As soon as I was out of earshot, of human earshot, that is, the group turned on Marilyn and the sickly boy. God, Marilyn, you're so lame. You never speak with us and you're speaking with that bum, the oldest boy said. You never let me speak, she protested. The girl next to the boy, who looked like his girlfriend, slapped his arm and said, Don't be nasty to your sister. She's the antisocial freak, not me, he replied. Tears stung Marilyn's eyes. Screw you, John. The scene went on for a while longer, a time I used to plan the next part of the hunt. I returned and sat near Marilyn again. She was still sensitive from before, though I managed to bring her out of her shell by asking her about her friends, what she usually did in her spare time, her favorite books, and so on. She liked classics with monsters, say Shelley's Frankenstein or Stoker's Dracula. I was alive when those novels were published, so in a way, they were very dear to me as well. I occasionally had to switch the conversation to the other kids in the group, but I tried to talk with Marilyn as much as I could. And an interesting thing began to happen, something that had never hitherto come to take place. I kept the conversation going out of pure interest. I was sick, most probably. Demons can have illnesses of the mind, so I've been told. Yet the effect was clear. I was enjoying the conversation, and as such, I kept it going. I could have introduced the amulet a long time ago, hours ago in fact. The sun meanwhile set, and the group decided to hop back on their truck and ride to a camping site 20 minutes away. They were kind enough to let me ride with them. I do sense something strange today, I eventually said. Me and Marilyn were in the back of the truck together with the sickly boy, who was quiet and refusing any attempts at communication whatsoever. Something strange? How so? Do you know why I wander around so much? I hate cities. The reason is simple, if you can believe it. I can feel bad things. I can feel bad feelings. In a city there is stress, anxiety, sadness, there is violence, frustration, pollution. Out here, there's nature. There's peace. There's an order, an ancient order, harmonious in so many aspects. Here I feel safe. Marilyn nodded towards the front of the truck. You're probably feeling my brother then. I felt him a long time ago. I'm feeling something different now. I reached over to my backpack and I froze. Should I? The moment the amulet was around her neck, it'd be too late to halt the hunt. These thoughts of mine befuddled me. They weren't supposed to happen. Why me? Why now? You okay? She asked. I nodded. The sullen boy glanced up at me quizzically. Yeah, sorry. As I was saying, I feel something different now. Something I've felt before along this mountain range. I think something evil lurks in these woods. This could help. I bit my lip as the amulet formed in my hand. I clutched it in my fist. Marilyn lit up. Oh, what is it? Is it some kind of artifact? Some witchcraft thingy? I smiled, and it wasn't a grotesque smile. It was painful. Yeah, you may call it that. This is an amulet, the Blessed Raven. It's a gift. Oh, thank you so much. For me, right? Of course. Do you accept it? It's pretty. Damn right I accept it. I nodded, hesitated, then handed it to her. Something in my chest area weighed down as she put the amulet on, and I gained insight into her very mind, into her very heart. She was happy, content, even that somebody was talking to her, making an effort to get along with her. Does it look good on me? She asked. Suits you just fine. It was strange how I knew that even if I had to, I wouldn't be able to kill her. Nevertheless, the hunt was on now, and it was too late to turn back. The kids set up camp. I helped. I also helped Marilyn down the truck. Slowly, my thoughts turning to mush midway as I thought them. The sickly boy kept studying me as if he had already guessed what I was. Even if he cried wolf, what good would it do? Destiny was already set in stone. You keep spacing out, Marilyn told me. I'm tired, and the woods are really beautiful around here. Marilyn nodded. But also dark. A little too dark, if you ask me. Marilyn's brother lit up a fire. I had to surround it with stones as embers kept threatening to light the grass on fire. This forest would have no option but to witness evil today. Let it at least not see fire. The group naturally came to rest around the fireplace, stabbing marshmallows and crackers with a stick and holding them up to the fire. It was a chilly but pleasant night. "Have you ever heard of the midsummer ghost?" a boy said. And so it started. I glanced at Marilyn. She'd be safe. She'd at least be safe. The midsummer ghost always hides like a man in need. You never see him for who he is, for he only lets you know what he is the moment he's got you in his claws. This was too fitting. God was playing tricks on me. Legends say he was a little boy who was abandoned in the woods by parents who hated him, all because he was deformed and broken. It is said the boy never died, that he was taken in by the woods and became a part of them. He asks for help, as help was never given to him in life. If it is denied ever again, the midsummer ghost will slice and pull your entrails and dress himself in them. The kids were silent. I began to let go of this human form. What was I doing? Why wasn't there a way to stop this? But there was, and it would cost me my life. The sullen boy in the wheelchair moaned, grabbed and shook the wheels, then raised a finger at me. One by one, everyone at the fire looked at his hand, then turned their heads at where he was pointing, turned to face me. I was smiling. I was no longer myself. Marilyn was the last to look at me. Her eyes watered as my skin came apart to reveal my hard and thick fur, swaying as if I were underwater. Her brother screamed. The others all followed. All except Marilyn. Above fear and horror, above disgust, Marilyn felt disappointment. I wanted to end the hunt there and then, but I couldn't. If I stopped now, it'd be my life on the line. "Why?" Marilyn croaked. I lunged. I attacked her brother first, went for his throat, saw his blood, made dark by the light of the fire, seeping into the leaves and grass. My body finally finished cracking out of its fake human cocoon, and I was free. There were few sensations as pleasant as the soft earthly wind caressing the claws at the ends of my tentacles, caressing the thousands of small tendrils emerging out of my mouth. My true form felt the freest, and yet I wanted nothing more than to return to my human shape. Marilyn was white as snow, the expression on her face that of a ghost who'd long left its host body. She was seeing a monster, a gigantic shrimp of black fur and eldritch biology, a sight reserved for books and nightmares. Marilyn turned her wheelchair and sped down into the darkness of the trees. The entire group scattered, in fact, yelling for help, leaving me alone by the fire. I looked at it, empty, aghast at what I'd always been. I stomped the fire until there was nothing left but glowing coal. I ran after the two girls who were always next to Marilyn's brother, though their bodies were pumping with adrenaline, running faster than what would otherwise be considered normal. I caught up to them while barely wasting a breath. Thus worked the wonders of my body. I crumpled the head of one against the trunk of a tree, then robbed the heart out of the other. With each death my body became lighter, healthier. The hunt was feeding me, making me whole again. And I was emptier than ever. One by one the group was lost to me. One by one they crumpled to my claws. I tried to kill them before they got a chance to fully look at me. I didn't want me to be the last thing they saw in this wretched existence. Lastly, I came before the sullen boy. He moaned and was afraid. He'd sensed me from the start, and still he was doomed. Those closest to death often have that skill, though it is a skill that rarely saves them. "I'm sorry," I said. "Stop!" a trembling voice said from behind me. "Marilyn." I glanced back and saw a petrified girl clutching a kitchen knife. She hadn't run away. She had gone to the truck to find a weapon. Foolish girl. "I cannot," I said. "I am sorry, Marilyn, but I do what I must do. I am bound by rules as ancient as the dawn. You showed me things. I thank you for that. But I will not stop. I cannot stop. I raised one of my claws. Please stop! She sobbed and pushed the wheels of her chair with all her might. I brought my claws clean through the boy's skull. His soul vanished instantly. I felt crippling despair emanating from Marilyn. A pain so hellacious my lungs failed to pull in air. I couldn't move, not while she wore the blessed gift, and her mind streamed all its intensity into mine. The knife in her hands plunged into my back. Pain. An entire universe threatened to pour out of me. The agony of the countless people I'd thrown to death's precipice threatened to overwhelm my existence. Above my physical ailment was only Marilyn's pain. It took centuries worth of stored energy just to keep myself from passing out. She removed the knife. It clattered to the ground. Remorse. All her anger and fear turned into simple, mundane remorse. I am sorry, little one, I whispered. Marilyn, sobbing, yanked the amulet off her neck and threw it over to where the knife had fallen. Where the amulet had been, her skin smoked and the shape of a raven formed. She'd always be safe from me. That was my only comfort. I was curled up, trying not to move. Each breath of mine was raking pain. I was told even a punch from one who wore the amulet could prove fatal, and here I was, stabbed, black, slick blood like oil gushing out. Won't you finish this? I croaked. I will find you, she managed to say through shaky breaths. I heard her wheels turn, cracking dry leaves as she escaped. The only human to ever touch me disappeared into the moonless night, into the embrace of the forest. My head was filled with visions of Marilyn as I walked to the warehouse. There was something odd happening with Mary, the girl who'd bought the Ouija board. I felt the usual fear and anxiety, yet there was something strange in her emotions, as if they were thin, as if they were veiled. I scouted the perimeter around the warehouse, spied through the windows. I saw the 4 teenagers moving their eyepiece over the letters on the board, laughing with their nerves on edge. The little fools. I smiled. I went to the front door, let go of my human skin, and waited until my true body came to light. The sun was nearly set, the sky bathed in those purple tones of dusk. It was the perfect hour for my hunt. I opened the doors, entered, and closed them hard enough to make sure my prey would hear their way out closing. I set a chain around the door handles, and I froze. The girl sporting my blessed gift ceased being scared at once. Instead, triumph of all things filled her heart. Oh no, I had walked into a trap. So you've come, Aegeramon, a familiar voice said to me. I was still and aghast. I wanted to be content to hear Marilyn again after all these years. I wanted to go and hug her and ask her how she's been. But that wasn't how our relationship would go tonight, was it? She was old now, old and worn and tired. You've learned my name, I said. I hadn't heard it spoken out loud in a long time. Everyone I spoke to judged you a legend, but I knew you were a legend that bled. Bleeding legends can be killed. I spared you, I told her. Out of necessity, I should have killed you when I had the chance. I was afraid, but I know better now. I spent my life trying to correct that one mistake. She smiled, gestured at me, and my chance to do just that has arrived. She walked into the few remaining shreds of light coming from the holes in the roof. Marilyn was old and withered, though she wasn't in a wheelchair anymore. She walked with the help of crutches, but she walked. She had a weapon held toward me. It was a kitchen knife. Everyone, she said, you can come out. Mary walked over to Marilyn. Other people sauntered in from the shadows, all holding weapons. Blades, knives, bats, axes, everything. All showed the burned raven mark below their necks. I recognized each and every single one of them. They were people I had permitted to live while forcing them to be aware of their loved ones' deaths. I smiled. finding glee I hadn't known I had. At last, I was the one being hunted. The girl who bought the board was a good actress, I said. My grandkid, Marilyn explained. I trained Mary well. You were hard to find, and I was sure you'd be harder to catch, hopping from town to town, always changing appearance. You were a ghost, a rather interesting ghost, an old man said from my side. I remembered him. He was a historian whose colleagues I had hunted during an expedition. I found you in documents centuries old. You once struck up a friendship with a monk who studied you. I nodded. I had. That man had been a lot like Marilyn. He gave you a name after your physiology, Aegeramon. How many innocents have you killed since then? Hundreds? Thousands? Too many, was my answer. Do what you must. I did what I had to do, so I won't apologize. You know I cannot attack you, but that doesn't mean I can't weigh you down or run. I turned to rush to the door, but there was a young woman there with a raven mark below her neck. She held a pitchfork. It's no use, Marilyn said. We each had our weapons blessed. I spent decades studying you. You might be fast, you might be strong, but against us, you're powerless. I won't sit idle as you hunt me. And Marilyn smiled, so very much like me. The sweet girl I'd known was nowhere to be seen. I had transformed her into a monster she had never wanted to become. Blessed weapons couldn't save them. I could dodge bullets, so evading their attacks would be a piece of cake. I would walk out of here victorious to live another day. Marilyn seemed to guess what I was thinking. She fished something out of her purse and handed it to her granddaughter. I squinted and froze. It was one of my hairs, a short knife, and a vial of thick black oil. My blood. Don't look so scared now, Aegeramon. You must know what this is. Surely you know what will happen if you try to hurt a wearer of the blessed raven. I sprinted, jumped on a wall and tried to climb out of a window. Bullets flew and ricocheted all around me. I was forced to retreat back down. God damn it. Marilyn put the hair on the knife and emptied the vial of blood over it. She handed it to Mary, who got on her knees, put her hand on the ground, and raised her knife above it. Triumph. Such strong triumph emanating from that girl. You killed so many. I know this was your nature, but it was a corrupted nature, Marilyn said. If I'd been anyone else, I wouldn't have cared, but this was Marilyn. I was unable to doubt the rightness of those words. There are others like me. There are others more dangerous, I said. You should have lived your life, been happy, counted that as a blessing. You should have counted that as a gift. You threw your life away. She shook her head. I will hunt others after you. Those who'll come after me will, at least. I'm old. I need to rest. Marilyn held her hand out, telling her granddaughter to wait. When you hunted me, something happened to you, as if you didn't want to be doing what you did. It took me years to accept that, but I did. You were paralyzed by me, and as such, you let me strike you, and you bled. I tried to run again, and again bullets came, this time from the outside. Marilyn truly had found all my victims. I was starting to panic, my fur swaying furiously. I was outmatched. I was told humans would become too fragile after a hunt to come after me. Demons could be so blind. All you stand for ends here, Aegeramon. Thank you for saving us, yet that will never account for your sins. No, wait! Marilyn nodded and her granddaughter stabbed her own hand with a knife dressed in my fur and blood, a knife with me in it, and pain washed through me all at once. This was a direct breach of my contract. A part of me was hurting a wearer of the amulet, and as such, I paid the price. I screamed, fell, convulsed. I saw colors bursting as pain threatened to subdue me. Then I felt a kick, a punch, a hit after another, all from the branded ones I had saved. The dark unconscious I'd brought on so many finally caught up to me. I smiled as my prey became the hunter, and life elided my body, becoming but a husk of ancient oaths. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, let me know and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring my bell so that you don't miss out on future videos and awesome spine-tingling, goosebump-giving stories. If you don't do these things, the like button will haunt your dreams and stalk your days forever.